one of the first questions I ask, and welcome to the people that logged in after I said hello. One of the first questions I like to ask is, why are you here with flat organizations? Do you plan to work with flat organizations? Are you here just to get a PDU? And that's all fine, but it helps me understand a little bit better why you're here. So if you could go into the chat and put some information in, that would be great. I already know that one person put in a comment saying he's made mistakes working with flat organizations. And he hopes to pick up some tidbits, and hopefully I will leave you with some tidbits. And somebody might come back and say, hey, I'm not sure what a flat organization is, and I'm going to clarify that in a few minutes. So if what a flat organization is, go ahead and put that in the chat as well. I'd appreciate your comments. I've gotten some people are not sure what a flat organization is, and other people are working with flat organizations. So that's great. Thank you very much for helping me with your comments. And Susan mentioned and I mentioned, please ask questions throughout the seminar. I'm going to collect them, and I'm also going to take 3 breaks to ask if there's any questions. And the 3 breaks will be after each of the agenda items for today. The first one is, what is a flat organization? The second agenda item is 5 organizational characteristics, and then I'm going to talk about some common mistakes around this common flat organizational characteristics. Here we go. Oh, you hit the right key. So what is a flat organization? If I asked you what is a flat organization, and a large corporation came to me one day and they said, we're a flat organization, and I just looked at them and said, no, you're not. So much hierarchy in place. You have so many processes, so many forms, you can't get anything done. And the director came back and said, well, we want to be a flat organization. So let's clarify really what I mean when I talk about flat. Flat organization is one that has few or no levels of management. You might have a CEO, and that CEO might have 15 people reporting to him. The middle management layer is not there. They're very flexible. They're very open. They have a lot of informal processes, and they have limited controls. When I talk about limited controls, I'm talking more about the formal controls. How many pieces of paper do you have to get signed? Or how many processes get routed through an email system for you to sign off on? Very hands-off management approach. And anybody that's a consultant that walks into a flat organization tends to struggle because management does take a hands-off approach. They empower their people to do the work. They might talk. It might be over lunch. They might be over breakfast. But the people are empowered, and the management trusts them to do their job. There's also a lot of teamwork. And sometimes there's a lot of teamwork in a flat organization because one person's primary responsibility, and if that person's out, somebody else has to pick up the work. You'll find people want to work together as a team. And if you're a consultant going in and trying to work with a flat organization, be prepared for them to sit back and say, we're a team. We want to work as a team. How do we get us working better as a team? Or what can we do to be a better team? Communication is also very informal. And when I talk about informal, it is the sticky on the table, or it's let's stop in the hall and have a conversation. Documentation tends to be missing many times. And I have found in flat organizations, and one of the reasons I like working with flat organizations, I can usually get a decision quickly. If we need to make a decision on a project, we can get in, we can move forward. We don't have to sit around and talk about it, or we don't have to worry about Have we touched base with everybody? People trust one another. There's a high level of trust. So they tend to be characteristics around a flat organization, or how to define a flat organization. But for those that have worked with a flat organization, how would you describe your experience working with a flat organization? If you could just throw in a couple comments, I would appreciate it. What I'm asking is, I know how I felt the first time I worked with a flat organization after working with a large corporation, had a lot of bureaucracy and had a lot of process and had a lot of control, and it took us forever to get a technical project done, whether it was a network infrastructure project, an application development project, even a process. So when I started working with flat organizations, it was challenging on my part. One person put in here, hard to get a decision because everything has a consensus built in. A person commented, large organizations have flat branches? Yes. I work with government agencies, and I'll call them agencies, very hierarchical, a lot of bureaucracy, and once you get out of the technical area, some of the departments are very flat. And a lot of the characteristics I talk about and common mistakes that I see made happen in some of those divisions of large organizations. Are stations smaller companies? Some are, some aren't. There are international companies that have divisions that are very flat and are very different than the rest of the hierarchical. But I've worked with some flat organizations that only have, this would sound smaller, only have between 50 and 100 people in the office, but have over 1,000 employees overall. They operate very flat within the office environment, but outside of the office, there are a fair number of employees. Comments I get back, or I tend to get back from flat organizations. I get frustrated working with a flat organization. Too informal. It's collaborative, and that just goes along with everything has to be a consensus. I have difficulty working with a flat organization because I am accustomed to, so these are just some of the comments I tend to get periodically from people who move from a very hierarchical organization to a flat organization. If you also see on this list, I get some other comments from people that are accustomed to working with flat organizations. I like the fact that there are empowered staff. I like the fact that they're practical. So that just giving you a little bit of information that you get different comments from different people, depending on have they worked with a flat organization, or they have not worked with a flat organization. This is something else to keep in mind when it comes to project management in flat organizations. And that project management is a skill, requires an understanding of project management, and the core things is you have to have interpersonal skills and you have to have leadership skills. Called the three of them the project management core competencies. There's tools and techniques, which for many flat organizations are a new experience, and there are processes. And flat organizations, unless they have that is solid with project management, they struggle as to what is project management and wonder why.